professors are in the school of Tokyo Tech. It's we are almost obliged to be a professor architect, and then so writing is quite important. Yeah, and I think for example, Vitruvius didn't have any practice today on this planet, but we still discuss Vitruvius through his book, its word, writing. So writing is more sustainable than real building in a sense. And I think it's many architects or very art-oriented architects or artists try to evaluate the power and importance of the word, and they try to underestimate the value of the word, because they want to put more priority on the originality and creativity without words, etc. But I think, okay, painting is maybe it's okay, but sculpture maybe it's okay, but the architecture is not something you can just produce by yourself. It is a very social thing, and it's kind of we do construct the society through the physical construction. So in this process, word is very important. And then to find the better word or the very appropriate word, about what you are thinking about architecture, I think the training is just writing about architecture. And so it's a very good process to train yourself about word and thoughts. If you can't do that, you can't be a kind of you can't take the initiative of the discussion of architecture in the society. And so who else can take initiative about the discussion about architecture? I think it should be architect who can take this initiative. Of course, there are so many people who can take initiative and responsibility about architecture in the society, but of course, architects should be part of it. Yeah. During the 20th century, the profession of architect has been involved into the process of labor division. Anyway, 20th century or capitalism or consumerism were very much accelerated by this idea of labor division, and then so there is a big capital and the purpose, and then someone think, okay, let's produce something to sell, and then they find someone who can do each special. They find specialists to deal with some categories, specialized category. And then they produce products and sold, and people buy it, and then I think this within also the profession of architect was very much involved in this process, and then architect became very much passive, so you're just waiting for the call from the client, and then in order to be called by client, you make a project and you try to show your portfolio. Making architecture can act as a kind of law to discipline people, to make people's behavior in a certain direction. And so I think it's very important to think about architecture, the relationship between architecture and society. The architecture is kind of, it's not just a physical construction, it is a social construction. So through designing the individual house, which has always very specific condition, specific site, specific purpose, specific history of family, we trained a lot to listen the voice of the client. And so we start realize that okay, the project is the starting point of the project is not the date we have a contract with the client. The project has already started probably 5 or 6 years ago when this client starts think about making a house. Yeah. And of course, the project of making a house can continue after the completion of the building, because it's not I think it's finally it's always the people who live who produce the more important character and quality of the space by living there. So, and this is a very this past and the future of the project is anyway consistent, because they are all same people, they are same client, the same people. So the nature, we can't change the nature of the client. We can just add something, or we can just guide them into a certain way on respecting their nature. And so we start thinking that project has a very long time scale, rather than just 1 year or 2 years of the designing process and construction process of the building. And I developed, I don't know how much I'm different from other architects, because I didn't hear any interview by other architects to the specific client. But it seems through the project, I think Bow Wow's house designed by Bow Wow have never overwhelmed the client, their nature. We really try to keep the nature and as a kind of treasure of the project. It's the most important material, resource of the project, and create a better framework for their life in the future. This is our role. And I really criticize the architect and the architectural work which just overwhelm the client and the purpose of the building, just to utilize this occasion for realizing their vision, architectural vision, and as an artist. And I don't like this type of work. So this way of working can easily adapt to the working in the public space, because in the public space, for the project for the public space, there are so many different players, and there are history of the site and history of the program, and we start thinking about these different things and try to do the same things like we did in the house. I didn't see so much relation between the house and public space, but actually it's a too big two big important spatial and architectural typologies for most of the people, because you don't go to library every day, but you sleep in the house and you spend some time in space every day. So I think the building type which was established at the end of 19th century, like library, museums, etc. They are still schools. They are still very important typologies, but house and public space are somehow kind of foundation of the society, and the quality of public space, for example, in the suburban area, is produced by the history of housing development in 60s and 70s. So it's very much related anyway. If you have 50 years of time scale, if you just see today, you don't see the connection with house and public space. But if you take longer time scale, you can clearly understand the relationship between public space and the house production in the society. So, for example, in the suburban area of Tokyo, they are confronting the declining of the population, for example. And second generation, they don't want to live in this remote area from Tokyo, like 1.5 hour distance from the city center. So every day they have to commute from this city to Tokyo. It's really tiring. And our young people, they prefer to stay inside of the city, even they don't have garden. In the small apartment, they can live better with this condition. And then suburban area is now really shrinking. So public space is less populated, but there are still inhabitants who are basically over 60s. And also another inhabitants who are original inhabitants of this rural areas. They are rural farmers, but they are not. They don't have a strong connection because the people who immigrated this suburban area in 60s, they didn't have a strong connection with neighbors. They just commute from this city to Tokyo. So the life is totally dependent on the rhythm of Tokyo and the company. And working rhythm is their life, rhythm of the life. So in this city, it's this issue, this type of issue happening is emerging everywhere. So one of our projects is try to connect these different population to let meet in front of the station. Yeah. So this is So public space and house production has strong connection actually. Yeah.